Hi, everyone. Welcome back into Primetime TV. And today, it's all about Women Unscripted again.
Yay.
All the core gals that started this. How many years ago? I've lost track.
I don't know.
Has it been 5, 6?
I think
it's
five.
At least
more
five.
than 6. I think
Is it more than 6?
Yeah.
I think so, too.
But just recently, this is the first time we've been together in how many months?
I know, because of this or that or whatever.
Right.
But I mean, welcome in, everyone. It's all about Women Unscripted, and I'm going to tell you the story
It's
about
always about
this.
us.
It is about us. When the 4 of us are here, yeah, it's about us for you. It's all about you as well, and hopefully you'll just pick up some fun, love, laughter, because that's what we're all about. But don't think for 1 minute that we'll fool you where we don't have anything that's going on behind the scenes, because every single one of us do. I promise you that. And that's why we do this show. So, I'm Barbara Marville-Kelly. Thank you for joining us. We're up over 200 episodes right here with We Being TV and Primetime TV. To my left is one of my besties, and that happens to be Helena Trangata, also known as Tinkerbella, because she sprinkles her fairy dust all over the neighborhood and is all that and a bag of chips. And I love you dearly for coming on and schlepping up, coming over the border up into this area to do the show. We're actually at Gulfview Square Mall now.
Not as far as we used to go.
No, not at all, not at all. To my right is my other bestie, one of my others. I have so many. And you, Cher, you take the cake. Cher Kistler. Actually, this show was born at one of your amazing women breakfasts down in Safety Harbor.
Network.
Was I was one of the speakers, right?
Yes,
Yes.
you were.
That's right. That's right. And then another bestie happens to be Maura Sweeney, Maura for you. And Maura was the one that actually named the show. So you think about organic things that just come into
A little
play.
bit of history here.
It's just, I hadn't shared the history on it in so long, but you had come up to me, and I don't know that we knew each other all that well back then.
No.
But you come up to me and said, Barbara, you're just such a woman unscripted. I go, oh, that's it. You go, what? What? I said, that's the name of our women's show, because I had been plotting this for a long time. So basically, if you're tuning in for the first time, we do share a whole lot. And sometimes, you know, we stay on track and talk about the theme.
When was that?
Sometimes. And then we kind of go, one will say one thing, another will say another, and here come the bunny holes. But it's all good. It's all good. So I thank you for joining us today. Now, we did lay out just a little bit of a groundwork just to get started.
Because Sharon needs that.
We
know this.
It's talk about.
We know this.
We love you, Sharon, and she has that whip out there, that love whip. Okay, girls, come on, you know. Well, at least you don't need notes, though.
No.
None of us need notes.
No.
This is totally unscripted. But we talked about, well, it is, time to reboot for spring. And, of course, down here in Florida, it's kind of like summer already. But when it comes to spring has sprung, you know, there's a lot to words. Words have such power. And when you think about that, spring has sprung, well, you can take that in a couple different ways. How has spring sprung for you? We've had a couple of great years of happiness, and how we've all gone through that. We all have our own story, but I think when we go ahead and do maybe a reset for our lives, which right now I think is inevitable, that each one of us take a look and see what we can do to not only help ourselves, but to help our fellow countrymen and women, and to help our friends, family, neighbors, whoever we can help. We have to come together and really share the love, and like Cher said just before the show, is share more kindness. In fact, I'm going to let you talk about that, because you brought it up just before the show. We know that we need to have more kindness, and it's not that hard to do, right, Cher?
Well, it shouldn't be, but I think we have to remind ourselves sometimes that, especially when we're going through hard times, and it starts to wear on you a little bit, and with the virus that we had and COVID, and that was a learning experience. I mean, we really didn't quite know what was happening, but it does wear on your nerves. And what was happening with the children in school and things like that, where parents were also protective but apprehensive, and they had to keep the kids home for a while. and the mask situation. We had a lot that we were dealing with. But when we get out into the world, kindness is one way that we can kind of soothe each other, and just being thoughtful and considerate. And well, I just went through a hip replacement. I don't want to talk about it a lot, but that kept me in even more, and my husband Bill. And you're like cocooning in this whole healing bubble when you're going through surgery, and there's really not much you can do. But I had people that were so kind to me, and just phone calls and cards and bringing over food and things like that really warmed my soul. So it was helping in the healing process. And I think in a big way, we're all healing.
Yes, yes.
From what I was saying. And we're, maybe feeling a little more freer now and healthier. But it's a reminder, that we have to think about what we can do.
It is truly a reminder. And you look absolutely fantastic for having gone through that surgery, because that's not an easy process. So congratulations.
Well,
you're beaming.
I'm so
She's
grateful.
back.
I'm working on it.
Well, when you're in pain, that doesn't feel too good. So when you can find an answer to it and a solution, that's right. always great. But I wish we were rolling before the show, because every single one of us, we were all talking all at the same time. We were bouncing from one subject to the next about this and that and this and that, because we haven't really caught up with ourselves in such a long time. And usually we will go down those bunny holes, but for today we're going to try to just talk about spring. And I found a birdie's nest in my green frog on the front porch just today. So we always get baby birds. So it definitely, spring has sprung. It definitely has.
We have baby sandhill cranes.
Do you?
Little baby.
Oh, and you're backed up this lovely lake, right?
Yeah, and they always have two. And Mom and Dad, they stay with Mom and Daddy almost a full year, I think. And I'm not exactly a bird expert, but usually what happens is, unfortunately, one of them is gone at the end of that year. One of the babies has been killed by the alligator, who knows. But right now, they have cute little babies, not this big, and they're just precious to watch them walk around. And they always stay together. When they walk, Mom and Daddy always stay. You don't see, unless, nature took its course. Normally you don't see one sandhill crane. You always see the mom and daddy together, and then you see the babies. So it's nice.
Oh, I love nature.
Really nice.
That's so interesting. Here we're going. You see, we're on a roll. We're on a roll. This thing about spring, you're both talking about these new little animals, and as soon as you said that, I thought, how funny. I have one girlfriend who yesterday, she has a business, and it's not too far from here. She watches dogs, and a common friend of ours who lives up in New Jersey had lost her puppy. Well, the dog was maybe 15 years old, tiny little adorable thing. And she and her family had gone through some challenges, and then all of a sudden, they get a brand new puppy. And I said to her, Joan, this is like new life. You bring a new puppy, a new anything into your world, and suddenly you see the world so differently. So this other friend who watches dogs for a living, she said, oh my gosh, she said, I love your puppy so much. She said, I really want one. Well, the next thing I knew, she gets a rescue that reminded her of the dog that she had for 15 years that had to put down. Now the reason, and she just got it yesterday, and so it was such joy. And I think that this is a very interesting concept for anybody who's listening today. When we think about spring, it follows a winter. And what happens in winter? Everything seems to die. I grew up in New Jersey. I liked snow. But then the idea of everything falling off the trees, everybody going indoors feeling like they couldn't go outside because of rotten weather. And then suddenly you start to see things bud and colors come out and life comes out. That's what it is with all these little animals. And the thing is, that's so exciting, thank God. It's like joy enters your heart. Suddenly you're able to, instead of thinking about maybe what you lost or what passed away or what's been hard or what's been lacking in life, now everything has new meaning. Everything is exciting. Everything is fun. It's almost like you're looking at the world brand new again through these new little chickadees or animals or whatever they may be.
Yep.
Well, it's
And
like
it's
we're all
exciting.
coming out of winter. Really, it doesn't matter
What
weather
season it is, you're right.
We have come
Yes.
out of a 2-year winter.
Yes.
Basically, that's
You're
what it feels
nonstop.
like. That we
Nonstop.
have come out of this into a spring, and so we all are being reborn. I believe that we really are. We're all being reborn, and I love that analogy of that because I lived up north too and saw all those
It was like death.
dreadful winters.
The winter season is always like death,
Yes.
and then
and
spring is
now,
coming.
and I'm feeling, I am feeling like rebirth. I am feeling rebirth. But the other thing that I've noticed is when we were in winter, well, we'll just call this last 2 years winter, I felt like a lot of us had our little blinders on.
Oh, yes.
And we were all about, I've got to go out and get groceries, and then I've got to bring them home, and I've got to do this, and I've got to do this, and I've got to do this. And I felt like everybody had blinders on because we're not supposed to get there within 6 feet of anybody, and you're not supposed to do this and that. And the blinders now have come off.
Right.
Some of us still have invisible blinders on,
Right.
and this is what
Oh, yeah,
I'm
and you
seeing.
can see it on the faces.
I'm
Yes,
seeing it when
yes.
I'm out,
That's-
that some of them still have that. So I make an effort, it's a small kindness, to say to the guy at Publix who's stocking the shelves, hey, thank you so much for what you're doing today. Because it's not like you really get to talk to the people who are walking because they still have their little blinders on and they feel like that
Yeah,
a little bit.
I did
Right.
that at Walgreens yesterday. Not
Vulnerable.
to do a plug on Walgreens, but this lady was stocking shelves, just like what you were saying, and she was really focused, but she felt my energy walk behind her. She goes, "Hi, good morning," and she's doing this, and I said, "Good morning," and I went about my business, and I turned around, and as I was leaving, I said to her, I said, "Thank you. That was nice for you. You're in the middle of your work." Well, she got up, and then she went into a conversation about somebody that went off on her not too long ago, and it triggers conversation. I will make purposeful conversation, even if it's through a silent smile. People need that.
Yeah.
Barb will she'll be in Walmart wearing a Walmart shirt that she's purchased there, and then she sells it to the clerk who works there because they didn't know that it was even in the store. And then Barb will she has been known to go back and buy a shirt for that clerk and
did
give
that.
it to her. So, she'll make conversation. We know that Barb
Yes,
does that, but
yes.
maybe you guys don't know that. Barb will do that.
That was my good vibes shirt.
Yes.
It was $5, and it was like velour, and it was so. And this gal was just so all that about it and everything, and I paid for my stuff and turned around and went back. They still had some, so I went and I gave it to her. She was all
Awesome.
happy. Those little things that
That was kindness.
They could change a person's day,
Absolutely.
their feelings,
Yes.
their emotions, the way they see themselves in
Yes.
the world. One small thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's, as we're moving or transitioning into something better. I mean, even with everything that has us worried and the news and things like that. But when we start thinking, it's like you're turning into another channel in the radio.
That's a good analogy. Yes, absolutely, it is. And we have that choice to do that because we can change that channel
Yes.
in our head and in our heart. And that's honestly, see this big sign? Well, you'll see the sign when you see all four of us. But my love sign, we always have this up because I'm trying to get this message out so that people can go ahead and show some love. If we show more love in the world, we can change it.
That's right.
One person at a time. It doesn't take anything to do that.
That's right.
And you're also doing that for yourself, too, because you raise your frequency, your vibrations to the love frequency, and there's nothing better than that.
You're right. You're
Do you
right.
remember some type of psychology type thing where if you want to get rid of something, let's say it's smoking or eating too much, any bad habit, if you want to get rid of it, you have to do it for 21 days. Haven't you heard that? But the other part is to replace it with something better.
Yes.
So we can do that now.
Yep.
Not necessarily with any bad habit like smoking, for example, but just with our choices.
That's right.
We can replace those negative thoughts with something positive, and then in 21 days we will be much more positive ourselves. And of course, how do we share that with other people? By doing it ourselves, right?
Doing it ourselves.
Right.
Speaking of which, I think that was a perfect segue. This wasn't set up either. I just did my 21-day reset. It ended last Monday, and I lost the weight that I gained back from the 8-month COVID pregnancy that I felt like I had, like I was out like this, and I lost that not on a 21-day reset because I chose to do that last year. So, I got off of it again. Well, a group of us in my Ageless Living Now group, which you can go to agelessliving.com and see all about that. I've got my own videos that I shot right in the comforts and privacy of my own little home, and I just tell you what I did, and I did it, and I lost the few pounds that I gained back. I think it was 7 or 8 pounds that I gained back because I wasn't focused. What did I learn from that? By teaching myself, like you were saying, making better choices, trying to find more plant-based proteins, watching all breads all together. It was a step-by-step process, and I was committed. And now I'm going to stay on it because 21 days, as we all know, that's what it takes to create a habit.
Right.
But I'm thinking, well, 21 days? No, this is a life habit. It's a life reset, not just for 21 days. And I'll tell you, I feel so much better, and I'm going to take it to the next level and try to just keep going on because I don't want to end up in my 80s. Did I really say that? Oh my goodness! In my 80s,
but
with
health
too
is
much
more
weight.
important. I mean, health is always important, but I think that we found as we're aging, Barbara and I are still 6 months apart. But
you're older than me.
But
I'm just
soon,
wanting to
but
get
soon-
that clear.
But soon I will be 1 year older than her. But what we found is that health is more important now than ever.
Yeah, it is.
Because of the fact that we don't heal as quickly. You're doing a great job of your healing, but in most
Absolutely.
cases, people that are older don't heal as quickly for a myriad of reasons. We just don't have our body doesn't have the ability to reproduce as
And people
quickly.
give up.
And we have other issues as we age, and so I think that a 21-day reset for any of us would be a good thing because of that. We all develop negative habits, right? And now it's spring, and we can think about, we want to have new habits so we can burst into spring just like those birds do.
I'll tell you.
I think, too, that one of the things that can kind of remotivate is when we realize what habits we want to change. Because so many of our addictive mind habits are unconscious, or we're in denial, and it's hard to start over. But it is a reminder for spring that it's time for renewal and planting seeds so we can see the blossoms that grow. But it is it's a mindset reset.
Yes.
It's like you have to see where are we where we don't feel good or what's not serving us well anymore, and we have to make a conscious effort. So practicing awareness, it's a self-mastery skill.
It is.
But the mindfulness and kind of taking a deeper look at ourselves, and it helps with the healing, because once you master and get rid of the things, like you were saying, Helena,
But can you explain
just-
further so that they could know how they could do that? How could they become more aware?
I was going to ask the same question. Do you have a story to convey so that people listening today will say, oh, that's how you become more self-aware? Because some of us can do it on our own.
Step 1, step 2,
And some
step
of us
3.
can't. So go ahead.
Exactly.
Well,
Give
for
some advice to everybody out there.
Well, the one thing, because I do life coaching and power life coaching, and you want to take a good look at what disempowers you. And you have to become very aware of that. But when you're changing a habit, even any kind of habit, the 21-day, you have to have reminders. So I tell people, write a Post-it note and put it on the bathroom mirror. Even if you're reminding yourself just to stay on, I'm going to be more mindful today, whether you're taking a walk or you're even listening to music, that you're keeping your energy up in a positive way. I mean, that's something right there. So you catch yourself before you go down the bunny hole.
That is exactly what I did. I had the journal there for every day and every moment when I felt like I wanted a whole bag of potato chips. I just didn't have them in the house. And I would do that, right? But I just happened to think of something that I found this morning, and I posted it on my what do they call it, timeline for Barbara Marville-Kelly, and it was from Dr. Charles Stanley. That's my biggest step 1. Well, actually step 2 after fresh coffee, and then I'm awake. He did a thing about the wisdom of health and treating our body as the temple for the Holy Spirit. It was so profound. If there's anything you get from this show today, listen to what Cher's saying on doing these steps and in the accountability. But I tell you, if you really, I've never heard this pastor talk about the health the way he does. And he describes it in such a way that I just want to just be ashamed of myself after I listen to that. And I said to Kelly, not that I'm doing really bad things or anything like that, but it was just so pure and so beautiful and so telling. And I said to Kelly, I said, because he got up and I played it again for him and we both listened to it again, it was very, very compelling to put it in that spiritual awakening, so to speak. Oh, there's another bunny hole we can go down. But it was true. It just really made an impact. And I've never posted one on Facebook because I didn't know how. Because every morning, Monday through Friday, that is one of the first things that I do. And I read my Jesus Always book. I gave each one of you guys one. I hope that's been good for you all. But it's true. You have to put yourself in a 21-day reset, but you've got to know how to do it.
Right.
The average person
Yeah, can we
does
just
not.
take that step back a minute?
Yes,
Can
I
we
was
take
gonna
that step back?
suggest this.
Because I just want to not, you use the term awareness, and we've used that term a couple of times. And how do they become aware? I mean, I think you touched on it, but I can only speak for myself. For me, meditation is where I get it. I say every day, in my meditation, I ask for answers. And the answers are, am I on the right path, God? Am I on the right path? Because I could be out there being really busy. I could be the busy beaver, you know what I'm saying? Just busy, 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 but it's not the right path. This isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. So I think that we've got to be quiet. We have so much noise in our life right now. I mean, the noise it's everywhere. You can't. It's hard to even get away from noise.
True.
So we have to make our own quiet space.
That's right.
And some people call it a sacred space. I call mine a sacred space.
It is.
And I prepare with my morning prayer, and then I go into this meditation, and then I ask for awareness. I ask for awareness.
And you get the
and
answers,
it's not like I ask every day for awareness, but I'm just saying to you, this may be helpful for you to get to that. You can't get to a 21-day reset until you are aware.
You have to set the plan.
Exactly.
You have to prepare the path for yourself.
And how many of us know, at a time, either ourselves or someone else who's got bad habits and they know they need to break it. I've known people who had lung surgery and then they go back and they're smoking again, or they've had surgery for something else and then they go back and they do their bad habits again. You can't fix them. We could spend our time in the morning, what I call my meditation time. We can spend this time trying to fix other people. It's so easy, right?
Yes, right.
But this is a time for us to look inward.
Everybody, even
And
though
upward. For me, it's inward and upward to ask, what do I need to know? What do I need to know?
Well,
Okay, and actually I'd like to add to
yeah,
that, because you and I are feeling the same thing.
Yeah.
That this comment about, spring is sprung, we're going to be doing some new things, make some new plans, but see, the four of us, we tend to be very introspective. We're very outgoing, but we're introspective, so we look at ourselves, but there might be people today thinking, I know I need to do this, but I have no idea. So that was interesting what you happened to mention, Helena, about just going into meditation and asking questions. That is so helpful, because a lot of times we don't even know where to begin, and then we think, I don't know the answer. But if you do ask, it could be a week later, a day later, it could be later on that afternoon, you could be out driving, you could be doing anything, and all of a sudden something drops in your head, and you know when it's revelation, you just know it, and because it's so clear and it's so personal. So that's one way of doing it, by asking the questions. Then I had this flashback, and maybe you'll all remember this. This goes back in time, but we used to have little medicine cabinets in our bathrooms. They don't do that anymore, but people would put reminders, let's say, on the bathroom mirror, and they were usually the size of like an index card. Sometimes it's a reminder, it's a good thought, it's something you want to do. Sometimes people put it on the front of the refrigerator, so that's another thing. Now, for some of you out there, you might be listening and think, oh, Maura, I don't know if I have the confidence to do this. You may have a spouse that you can say, And think about asking the question this way. Where do you see me when I'm at my best? Can you describe it to me? Where do I seem like I am when I feel the best? I'm behaving my best with others. What's going on in my life? Give me some feedback. And then you could ask a question. It could be whether it's to your spouse. It could be sometimes it could be your parents, your kids. It could be with a friend, but ask it in a way that you don't feel like you're being attacked. Just say, have you ever noticed any time when you're watching me and I am either trashing myself or not feeling good or not behaving at my best? Have you ever noticed that? And if so, is there anything that you picked up on that I could pay attention to so I don't go down that trail again? There's a way to ask the question so you feel protected enough when you're asking. And then, of course, you've got some really good friends that'll tell you anything you want to hear, and there's no ulterior motive. But that's some of the ways you could find out and then respond with and make some changes.
I think that's good. Asking questions is really good. And I think for me, what the question I did ask, because I like you, meditate every single morning and in the afternoon and in the evening and when the Holy Spirit wakes me up at 3 in the morning. How many times does that happen? But when I did this 21-day reset, I asked my why. What was my why? I thought I was taking care of myself really good, but maybe I wasn't, because I gained a couple of pounds that I did not need at 5'1". And I said, what is my why? Why? Because I want to set an example. I want to lead by example with my family. My most important why is my 8-year-old grandson that has been caught up in all the craziness and everything. And I want to walk my talk more and more. And by taking care of myself, I'm taking care of the Holy Spirit inside this body. And I'm ashamed if I don't take care of this temple. And I'm not being over melodramatic. I'm being very sincere about that. And that's what kept me on task. Find your why. Whatever the why is, like you were saying, it will hit you. You'll know when you get the answer. Ask God, what is my why, and what is my why for God?
That's awesome. Can I just put one more thing, and then we'll let it go to everybody else?
Yes, let's go down the bunny hole.
Okay, because think about this. Think with most people, and this is a women's show. I'm sure there's guys watching, but it's a women's show.
We don't care.
What do women do?
They're one of us.
Why did I do? Oh, yeah, that's right. Why did I do that? They're in touch with their feminine side. And very sensitive, right? But think about women. When they ask the question, why, what do they immediately go to? Why did I do it wrong? You just said something so profound.
I did?
Yes. This is why I wanted to pause. Because why do I want to do it right? You want an answer, the why, which is the power and the reason for doing something the right way. Not that you're going to say, oh, I go and smoke cigarettes or I do something on the side because I feel miserable. No. My why, which is an empowering, thought-provoking, energetic thing that moves you forward toward life, is I want to do this because I have a grandchild and I want to be the best example. So your why can be a positive why that leads you to good behaviors, or your why question, and you got to think, it could be the negative side, which is, oh, I'm doing it again, I'm falling back. But it's so much more powerful if you focus on the positive.
On the positive, absolutely, because
really
perception is everything.
But there's grace. Let's talk about grace.
Absolutely.
So we don't need to, smack ourselves around because we didn't do it right? Because of the fact there is grace. And the other thing is, life is a continuum. And how I ate, we'll just talk about food and resets that way for a little bit. What I ate when I was 20 was abomination, I'm sure.
I think that was all of us.
I think everybody.
And so then you fast forward, but my husband had a heart attack several years ago, and I really worked at cleaning up our diets, right? And if somebody had said to me at that time, you're going to eat like this, if they had said when I was, let's say, 50, you're going to eat like this when you're 60, I would have said, I don't think so. And then we also make the mistake. I made the mistake sometimes of trying to do everything right now. I want to lose weight, I want to change my hair, I want to exercise more, I want to, normally you set yourself up for failure. Right. But if you keep on that continuum, and then at some point I looked back at how I had been cooking when he had the heart attack. It wasn't really as healthy as I thought it was. So I changed again.
Because we learn.
And we're always learning,
Yes.
right? And it really doesn't matter if it is your own body or your, you know, obviously I'm not cooking something for him, I'm not eating it too. So I mean, as we're trying to get healthy, you know, I've changed our diet a number of times, and it's kind of amazing to me that what I thought was healthy when I was 60 was not healthy, was not as healthy as I thought when I re-examined it at whatever age, you know, 10 years later.
And, you know,
I think
I like that.
can I just, so if you're the youngin' in the crowd, you know, if you're the youngin' in the crowd, know that you're going to have a number of resets in your life.
Right.
And you know, I'm sorry, I'll say this really quick. And to your point, as everyone knows my husband, if you know my husband, I know I shamelessly talk about him, but he's taken good care of himself ever since he was in the 30s when he lost his father at a young age with a massive heart attack in his 50s. And because he has taken really super good care of himself, like the modern day Jack LaLanne, he has been able to overcome death's door in the last couple of years. Has nothing to do with COVID, in and out of the ER, from one thing to the next, and you ought to see him now.
And let's say happy birthday, Kelly.
Happy birthday, Kelly. Tomorrow is my husband's 84th birthday. So there's something to exactly what you just said. But even somebody like him being a certified sport nutritionist and all, we still are working on finding out what's current to do what we need to do to be healthy.
You know how it is. I mean, you know, in the years that we've been, you know, there was a time where they said that you shouldn't have butter, you should have margarine. Now, there was a big nurses group that they was, and they said, oh no, don't ever eat butter, eat margarine. And then, of course, now they're saying eat butter, don't eat margarine. I mean, you know, it goes on and on and on. So, I mean, it's always going to change. Part of what you have to do is accept the change and study to find out whether or not this is a good change for you.
And supplements. Know your supplements. Research the researchers. If you've ever been on any of my shows, you know I could just get up on the table and dance for
Okay, so we got to then throw in the research your meds. We've just got to say this real quickly because we are, many of us, taking meds, or we know people taking meds, and there's side effects, and there's sometimes the side effects are worse than the disease that one might be having. So I'm not trying to tell you to second guess your doctor. I'm just saying that the doctors are limited with how much time that they have for research and how much time they have with you. So I am just, we've all had incidents of the med wasn't the best, the highest good for the patient that we might know.
That's absolutely right.
And so, and Barb's found that out big time this last year.
Well,
so.
yeah. I mean, just 6 weeks ago, my husband passed out in the family room. His eyes rolled back into his head. His blood pressure went down to 66/38. I swear to God, this really happened, and I thought he had passed. I shook him. I called 911. They got there just in time, and that's what his blood pressure had gone way down. Come to find out that day, 2 side effects was lowering blood pressure. He is an athlete, so his blood pressure is already low. Well, I also do a job from home where I do genetic testing, and so I have even a little bit more learning curve on what's happening. So thank you for bringing that up, because it is important. We're not saying that, you know, you should go off all your meds.
And none
Just
of
be
us are
aware.
doctors.
Awareness, right? Be aware. Research.
Absolutely.
Thanks for that.
And I think, too, a lot of people that get stuck, they really feel stuck in life because they don't know what to do.
Right.
And it's hard to get motivated. You know, they really need to find motivation. So one thing that I found that works, and I've shared with hundreds of people, is look for inspiration.
Yeah.
Because inspiration is everywhere. I mean, whether you're going to read a book or talk to a friend, or you're watching a show on TV, we have to get our information from somewhere. Like, we're going to do our research.
Right.
I've been a researcher for at least 15 years, seriously, on how to be happy.
I was going to say that's a short amount of time. I'm sure you've been.
I was going to say.
Officially 15 years, yes.
I have been a seeker for a long time, but just out of curiosity. But I talk to people so often that really get stuck because they don't know how. Like you were saying, how do you do this?
Yes.
How do we find out how to be the best version of ourselves? Well, we all have to do a little investigating or researching.
Yeah.
But even with self-awareness, we can find things that we're doing for ourselves that we could do better or would help us be healthier.
Sure.
Or be more dedicated to yourself because you're worth it. And this is part of it, is our self-value, our self-love, self-acceptance. These are things that we don't focus on because we're outwardly always feeling.
Well, we're always dealing with stuff.
We have to do stuff for somebody else, or we have our families, or we have our jobs, whatever we get stuck in, and we don't have time for ourselves. So taking the time and knowing that you're worth it, and doing a little research. But if you really are in the dark and you really want help, you can always reach out, but also look for inspiration.
Inspiration.
Because inspiration,
It's easy.
All of us are coaches,
And
and
that'll
so
motivate
you can reach
you.
out to us. That's part of what we do. And the other part of that is, we kind of jumped in the 21-day reset, but let's go back to, there are still women, and this is unfortunate in my opinion, there are still women, especially young women, who don't feel good enough.
right?
And
Oh, really?
I want to say to you, ladies,
Gee.
I want to say to you, there was only one of you. God created you, God bless you, and you are beautiful. And I am telling you, if you can get that lesson early on, you got it made, because many of us didn't get it early on.
No, you and I for two.
And so the not good enough has followed me through my whole life. And so those stickers in the mirror, I had stickers saying, smile, you're
You
okay.
are good enough.
First, I didn't say you're good enough. I just said, you're okay. There was a book, remember? I'm okay,
you're okay. I remember that.
We all know that book.
This really took me back. 'Cause
That was
I
one
read-
of my first
I read-
self-development.
What? How old were
personal
you?
growth.
I think we were around 20 when that came out. 18 or 20, I read that book. And so it's like, somebody had to tell me I was okay. I mean, I grew up in a loving family, but they did not feed my ego at all very much.
But I think a lot of that was the times
It
back
was a
then.
time, but all I'm saying, but the times have changed.
Yeah, they have.
And like my granddaughter, I only have one granddaughter, but she's been told she's beautiful since the day she was born. And I don't know that my father ever said I was beautiful, ever, including my wedding day.
No, my dad always picked on me and told me I had a hair full of a bushel basket hair, because it was back in the day when we had big hair, right? All they did was pick on my hair.
So even though they loved us, they only could love us to the degree that they knew how to love.
Very
right?
good point.
Right.
Very
And
good
they
point.
could not
They
support us
didn't
in any
know.
way that they
That's
had
right.
not been supported. So
And
I'm
they're-
not
the way-
negating my
No,
father.
I know what you're
I am
saying.
just saying,
Yeah.
girl, you are loved.
Absolutely.
Girl, you are beautiful. It is just amazing. Have you guys watched Midwife on Netflix?
No.
Oh my God, it's
love
such
it.
a wonderful show. But and I
is
happened to
great.
watch a new one last night, and this little girl had been born with it takes place in the 50s, late 50s, early 60s. And so she had been born with a disease, but it wasn't picked up at the time. This is a disease that you no longer hear about. And her mother really was beating herself over, beating herself up because she hadn't picked up on the fact that this little girl wasn't maturing at the way she should be. And I thought, there are so many children who may not have a disease, but they have something going on. They're challenged. Their bodies are challenged. Their minds are challenged. And we need, as a world, a human loving world, we just need to be, we go back to the kindness all the time. We need to be more loving. We need to be more supportive. And, some woman could have said to that other mother, you need to get your daughter in.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen at that time. And I'm just saying that because the fact is we really need to support our young people right now.
Absolutely.
Because they have, they've had a few more challenges than we might have had when they were young. I wouldn't want to have kids right now at all because they're going through a lot of stuff.
Well, especially in the
and I just need to say, and I can support that statistically. I mean, our mental health has been hurt from this last 2 years, but more than adults being hurt with this with this, our children have been hurt. So we need more
Very
than ever
true.
to support our children.
Absolutely.
And, be anti-bullying, but it's not really about it's about loving them. It's about loving them and not allowing them, if they say something hurtful, not allowing that to happen, to support.
And not being so hard on ourselves.
Yes.
You were saying how you started out where people are picking on you or something like that. But being more encouraging. I mean, encouraging each other,
Right.
encouraging the children, and really aligning with, to build their self-esteem.
That's it right there.
And realizing, I know I had a client, it was a father, and I said his son was experiencing something not so pleasant. And I said to the father, I said, how do you think your son feels about that? And he said, I don't know. Why don't you ask him? And it just stunned me because I thought, wow, you need to be more aware and tune into your son and have more empathy for what he's going through.
How old
at
was the
time.
son, approximately?
He's 7 years old.
Oh.
But he was 6 and he was really struggling. And the father had something to do with it. And yet he was not tuned in to his son or the situation, or the mother. And it was causing a lot of problems. So he was in a lot of the denial.
Sure.
So I think when we talk about our upbringing and what they didn't know back then,
Right.
that there was a lot of hurt and maybe disillusionment about our self-concepts growing up.
Yeah.
And it can stick for a long time.
Oh,
because
absolutely.
if you don't have somebody to validate you or
Absolutely.
encourage you or just tell you, you are the greatest thing,
Since
and you
sliced
have-
bread.
since sliced bread,
We all think
and you
that.
have all the potential to be anyone that you want in the world,
Yep.
and
And if no one else tells us
inspire
that, we
them,
have
yeah.
to tell ourselves.
Tell
that.
ourselves
Right.
that.
That's
right.
Can I cap that on? This is so much going on in this
Yeah, I
conversation.
know. It's
Barbara,
great.
you made a statement. You said, "Well, there's so much happening to us. That's how our world is, and it doesn't matter. We could be in school, and I'm talking like we could be in elementary school, high school. We could be in university. We could be at a job. We could be out with friends. We could just be out in the world and realize the world is happening to us. We're accosted every single day, multiple times a day, with bad news. Everybody knows that.
Exactly.
Something new we're supposed to be upset about. So I'm thinking about this. The world happens to us. So there's two ways we could take care. One is we could do, as you were both saying earlier, you meditate, you spend time on your own. I used to have to do that as a child because oftentimes I felt like things were happening to me. And of course, that's the thing. That's where you go to the victim. But I was creative enough to say, you know what? I can't change what's out there. So how can I find my own little areas to impress, when I say impress myself, inspire myself? I would read volumes upon volumes of biographies because back then in the day, we didn't really have self-help books. But in a biography, I could read somebody's life and learn about how they overcame things. So I was inspiring myself. So we could find time in our own lives as adults, even if it's just a little bit, or getting up extra early in the morning, find that time to meditate, to be quiet, to listen, to say, all right, the world is out there, but what do I want to focus in on? What's important to me? And that's a way we can sort of control ourselves from the inside out. The outside of it is another thing. And I think we're all like this. Many people, and I shared this recently with my husband, many people have never had the benefit of being in a positive relationship. They don't know it.
That is
They're so used to being in like toxic places with nasty people, with ulterior motives and mind games and sometimes physical abuse too. So they've never experienced kindness, gentleness. So here's what we can do as individuals outwardly. We can be the one person. We don't have to be related to these people. We don't have to even know who they are. But we can find a wonderful opportunity to say something to them. It's a word. It's a reminder of, oh, I just noticed this about you. You're beautiful. You write beautifully. Or what? I was going to say penmanship. I don't even think anybody knows what penmanship is anymore.
That's true.
My husband was gone over the weekend. But my husband was just telling me, I picked him up at the airport last night. He was in another city playing some Masters basketball tournament. He came back, he said, Maura, the sweetest thing happened. He said they took the funding from this Masters basketball tournament, and it was all going to this young girl who's maybe 5 years old. And she obviously had some issues, some physical issues. I don't know whether she had cancer, but definitely things. Well, she was getting her picture taken with everybody. My husband said to me, Maura, she was so cute, she was adorable. And I don't know whether she had her mom there, and he said to her, do you know how pretty you look? And she said, thank you, sir. He said, Maura, she was melting everybody's heart. Then he said to her, are you getting a little tired of getting your picture taken with everybody? She said, a little bit, but that's okay. Now, she was a perfect stranger. Her life so touched my husband. Apparently, her life touched everybody that this whole tournament wanted to give her something. But everybody was pouring into her at the same time. She's this little light of a 5-year-old giving joy to everybody, and she was so polite and so nicely dressed. But we forget in our lives, it could be on Facebook, it could be a private message. Let's say somebody's suffering. This is something everybody can relate to this. Somebody's suffering, but you have a way to reach them privately. You don't have to make it a major statement. Just say, I was thinking about you, you're on my mind, and I want you to remember a quality about yourself that's so good. There's so many ways that you could get the ball rolling with giving people something encouraging, something inspiring, something affirming, and you're literally putting into their lives maybe things they never had.
That's right, and they'll remember that too, because you don't know what a person is going through, and you bump into somebody, or you just make a comment to them, and they light up.
I know it.
They just light up.
The grocery store, I have that happen all the time when I stop people.
Yes.
Oh, you're
So in February, which was Kindness Month, it's too bad that we have to have a National Kindness
Yes,
Month.
to be
but
reminded.
Right.
We did.
Remind everybody.
So I bought I bought 30 gift bags, and I put gifts in some of them. And this woman that I know from Facebook, she had offered, if you requested it, she's an artist, and she had made up these little cards with different pieces of her art on it. I mean, very small, like a deck of card size thing. And she said, I will give it to you if you will share them. And I said, okay. So she sent me, I don't know, 50 cards or whatever. So I would put them in these little gift bags. And then some of them I put gifts in, and some of them I just let the card be that. And I decided that I was going to do that every day in the month of February. And I got some really interesting comments. And some of them liked the gift, but I got as many interesting comments because the artwork, one of them might be, the art was a little bit Art Nouveau, and so it might be a cat who was kind of pieced across the little piece of paper or whatever, in different colors, very colorful cat, or it could be a rainbow or something. But that wasn't the point of that. It was the fact that they got something, and I just put in there, bless you. I put a little thing in there saying, God bless you, and I got more than I gave, obviously, but I'm just saying, it would be nice if we didn't have to have a kindness month and we could just do these things. At Christmas time, I often will buy somebody's groceries behind me, in the line.
Right.
I know a lot of people do the Starbucks thing, where they'll buy that. And I'll get that. I'll read something like on Facebook. It says, thank you to the woman who bought my coffee. You didn't know this, but, I lost my mom yesterday or something like that. And I'm like, oh, it breaks my heart. But I'm so glad that she had something positive in today, with someone buying her coffee at Starbucks. It's just... we don't know. We don't know where our goodness is going.
Yes,
No.
Exactly.
But it shows up.
And if I could bring it back full circle again,
Of course.
Because it's just hitting me. Isn't that what spring is? It's like bringing life
Yes.
to where people didn't have it. All you have to do is speak the right word. Even what you were just saying, Helena, you're leaving something behind.
Yes.
And it's something tangible, right?
Yes.
But what it does is it brings up into people's consciousness, their heart, their soul, their energy level. Life. It literally feels like life. Sometimes we walk around in this current world, but we have maybe, I don't want to say blame ourselves for taking a lot of it in and not realizing we're also energizing people that can bring something out. We can literally bring life everywhere we go. And it could be so small, but it can be so huge.
Absolutely, because when you light up somebody's life, you can light them up not just for that day or that
Debbie
moment.
Boone.
Right. Oh, the Debbie Boone, you
Debbie
light up
Boone
my
song,
life.
you-
Debbie
you
Boone.
light up my life. When
Now
you
we're
light
back in
up somebody's
70s.
life like
In
Debbie
the
Boone.
70s,
There you
yeah.
go. I thought about that. But that's true. It's true, and it just keeps on lighting.
That's
and
Yes,
lighting.
there
But
you
you
go.
know, but
I
Go
just want
ahead.
to say something about you today, what lit up my life, because I was just having a moment, and you had called, and just the sounds of my dear sweet friend's voice that
that's
I
true.
love, it's things like that that
Yes.
will light up your life too, because we hadn't talked for a couple of days, and this and that and this and that. It was just the sound. When I saw the two of you today, just
Yay.
that friendship means a lot
I know.
to everybody. You know, I love
Yes.
these girls, and
I know.
We love
just
you.
the sounds of your friend's voice or your family's
Very-
voice.
yes.
It makes such a difference. And
It does.
I told you, love, life, laughter, and tears.
That's right.
So I did it. But it's really tears of joy, because joy can really take you out of your own funk anytime. It truly can, when you have that gratitude and you just thank God for what is being brought into your life. And how long has it been, girls? For a long time. I met you.
Yeah.
You introduced me to Cher, and then
Maura
No,
was at
guess what I saw the other day? It came up again when I interviewed you when you did Dancing with the Stars. It was 8 years ago.
Was it?
Yeah, that's what I'm
8 years
saying. It's been a
ago.
lot longer.
Time,
Gosh.
I'm telling you, time is going like that. We were all a decade younger back then.
oh my
Yeah.
God.
Can I?
It feels like that.
I
5 minutes we got.
I
Let's
just want to
wrap
say
her
that when
up.
I
I've
was
got a little
younger, I
story.
looked at
Yes.
things that I could do. I could accomplish. I looked at things I could accomplish. Even motherhood and all that. I looked at it as something that was an accomplishment. I wanted to do that. These were on my bucket list, I guess, if I'd had such an animal back then. Somebody said recently, I don't even have a bucket. I thought that was cute. But now I look at things differently. And now I look at my life as a legacy. I watched the memorial part of I did not watch the Oscars, but I watched the memorial part of the Oscars where all these actors and stage people had passed this past year, and they put them all up on screen apparently at the Oscars last night. And I watched that part of it this morning, and I was crying, and I thought, they all have their place. They're all being honored on this stage where a lot of people are watching. And wouldn't it be nice if we would be honored that way? If our friends, I feel like I honored Marcella, who passed recently, with what I put on Facebook about her.
And we did her show,
But
too.
I am, I'm not concerned, is not the right word. I'm just saying I want to have this legacy of doing as much as I can, giving as much as I can. So it was about accomplishment back then. Now it's about giving as much as I can. And it's not all material things,
No.
obviously. We're talking about
Time.
words and kindness and all.
That's right.
And I
And
feel like
inspiration.
that we
She has a
need-
time. Right,
we
do we have
need
time
a
for to hear
legacy.
this story
Just a
too about
quick little story. I was getting ready to go to Peru, and my women's group, the Amazing Woman Organization, we did heart cutouts, we painted them, we put words on them. You were blessed, kindness, you were special, but we did it in Spanish because we were going to Peru. And when we went through Peru with these hearts, these painted hearts,
I love
with
this.
love and just nice words, it transcends the language. We just handed out, we called it Hearts Through Peru, and as we went through Peru, we gave them to the children, to the men that were working in the fields, and the taxi driver. And the response that we got from that, they were like this. We also took beads and beanie babies and dollar bills for the children, and they were just, it was like Christmas. And it was just the kindness.
I love
and
this.
It was, what my point was, is that it transcends language.
Yes. Mhm. Yes,
When
it
you're
does.
kind.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or you're heartfelt.
Yes.
And this is what we need to do, I feel, in the world today. Is
What a nice way to
try
finish
to
this.
find
Wow.
a
I
way.
tell you,
Yeah.
love is the universal language. It doesn't matter what you speak or don't speak, but when you show love, it's
right.
there. Maura, you got a last. We have 2
Oh,
minutes.
no, I was going to say, I was making sure everybody, these ladies all had a chance to speak. All right, I will say that's right. The love is the universal language. If you can find something to give to another of life, and that's really what this is, spring, share it. not only will that you give that other person life, but it renews life in you, and it also restores it, and it reinforces it. We can change the world if we're willing to invert it. We could either have, as Barbara said, things happening to us and thinking, okay, so I'm a victim of this, or we could come forward and we could bring life. And I'm telling you, I know this for a fact, and even as you're talking about other countries, because I've had this, people have gone to so many different countries, people respond to love. Be that love, because you know what? In that love is life. How's that?
That's right. I love that. I absolutely love that. Speaking of love, and if you tune into our shows, we always have my love banner here, and this is actually part of Corinthians.
Beautiful.
Let all that you do be done with love. And do you know that that is very powerful? Because before you speak with a not so good tongue, think twice, because whatever you say, it's already been born. Those words have been born. You can never take them away. You can apologize, yes, but use that time effectively. And like we're all saying here, is love is really the key. Come on, everyone. Love is the key. And you'll find a difference if you just kind of sit back and think, how do I want to respond, or do I want to react to this situation? If somebody's screaming in your face, well, if we're going to lead by example, then we need to lead by example and not go off and act like somebody this time and then another person that time. Do we have the times where we might get angry? Yes, but we can still turn that around really fast. 40 seconds remaining, girls. I cannot believe that this hour has
so
gone
quickly.
by.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. And let's try to
Thanks
do
for
this
putting us together.
the end of the last, is it the last? Yeah, the last Monday in April.
Yep.
Hopefully, we'll all be available to do that. So, I want to just thank you, girls. Get home safely, as you cross the border again. I love you. I love you. Maura, I love you.
Lord Georgia.
And we want to say we love you, too. Here is a great big hug and a kiss. Thanks for joining us. Mwah.